Namaste students, Khushro Vidya. I, JV and Dr. Chandrakala, Assistant Professor Jyoti Vidyapeeth, Women's University, Jaipur. In today's session, we are going to discuss about the gymnosperm, that is Gnetum. Okay. So here, here, as you know, the gymnosperms are broadly divided into Cyclophyta, Ginkgophyta, Coniferophyta, and Natophyta, which we have already discussed in our previous classes. Okay. Natophyta are this includes the Aphridia of 28 species, Welwitschia mirabilis, or the species of especially the presence of proteins and the vessel element in the xylem tissue, presence of the seed tube and the companion cells in the phloem tissue. Okay. So leaves are broad with those having those as found in the angiosperm. Mostly dioecious male gametes are non-motile, or unlike that of the cycus and ginkgo. Okay. So the mostly the pollination by entomophily in the Gnetum or in Welwitschia or okay. So the flowers are like the structures of the male cone and nectar produced on the cone tip instead of the flower. Okay. So here this is so the Gnetum is accordingly it belongs to like division Gnetophyta, class Gnetopsida, order Gnetarans, and family Gnetaceae. Okay. So the distribution of 14 species confined to a tropical and humid region. Okay. So different species of Gnetum is there in like Assam, Nilgiri Hills, in Kerala, Nilgiri Hills, Andaman and Nicobar, uh, and woody climbers, tolerance of Netamula, localities of regional like Kerala, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, okay, and different parts of Sikkim, Assam. Okay. So here the characteristic feature of Netam is mostly climbing, except few are shrubs and trees. So the branching is limited growth take place. Okay. So the climbing species have a branch of limited growth or short growth or a small unbranched foliage leaf. Leaves dicots and like scaly and large. Large and oval with entire margin, 9 to 10 in pairs arranged in a cluster fashion or with reticulate venation. Okay. So the anatomy of the Gnetum is like the root. In the young roots, the uh, layer of starch is filled in the cortical cells, 4 to 6 layers of the pericycle and primary xylem is visible. So roots may be diarch and exarch. Okay. So in the older root, the xylem is distinguished due to the secondary growth and the consist of tracheate vessels, primary vessels, xylem. Phloem consists of seed tubes and seed parenchyma. Okay. So here the stems, young stems resembles the dicot and sunken stomata and cortex, a few layers of the fluorochymatous cells or a few second few layers are parenchymatous cells and third few layers are sclerenchymatous cells. And the endoderm or pericycle indistinguishable and the pericycle vascular bundles or the conjoint collateral open and exarch in the brain. Xylem comprised of tracheids and xylem vessels, and phloem comprised of seed cells and phloem parenchyma. Okay. In the old stems, the primary cambium are short-lived or sclerotic cells present. Secondary cambium is different part of the cortex from the ring. Secondary would comprise of tracheids and vessels, or the phloem seed cells have a obligate perforated seed plates. Medullary ray consists of polygonal parenchyma cells. Okay. Leaves here resembles a dicot with cuticularized epidermis or a stomata on the both sides except on the veins. Mesophils differentiated into the single layer palaceid tissues, well-developed spongy parenchyma or the stone cells or the lattice cells present in the midrib region. So vascular bundle or the incurve formed in the midrib region or okay. So the conjoined collateral type and the xylem tracheic vessels and the xylem parenchyma. Okay. The phloem and the seed cells of and the phloem parenchyma are present in the vascular bundle. Reproduction is dioecious, so the cones are like two opposite bracts are present, and the male cone, the flowers are arranged in the lateral alternative in a defined ring. Each flower contains two coherent bracts forming the perianth. At maturity, the stalk elongate, such as that the anther comes out of the perianth. Okay? And the female cone consists of 4 to 10 ovules above the collars. So here the nucleus consists of central mast cells and inner envelope elongates to form the microphylla tubule. The stomata sclerites or the lactiferous cells forms the two envelope, and the ovules is autotropous and having some angiospermic characters. Okay. So the microsporangium and or microsporogenesis takes place. Two archaeosporal cells divide to form the multiple cell archisporangium. Okay. So archisporangium divides very clinically forming an outer parietal cells. Inner cells of the spontaneous cells forming parietal cells and form the tapetum cells periclinally. Okay. So the sporogenous cells divide irregularly, forming microspore mother cell. The tapetum cells get binucleated. Okay. So the megasporangium, two omega archisporangium cells periclinally forming the outer parietal cells. Okay. So here the megaspore mother cells by meiosis forming tetrasporic embryo sac. Okay. So the fertilization or the pollination takes place by the aminophily or get entangled with the fluid secreting the micropyle tubes, or there are male gametes, each having tight chambers. Fertilization takes place by the pollen tube breaking into the ovules, releasing the male cells, and the cell enters the egg cells and forming the male nuclei, male and female nuclei, lie side by side for some time and then closes to form a zygote. Okay. So the endosperm form in the Gnetum or cellular endosperm forming after fertilization, although the cell gets formation started after the fertilization. After fertilization, the cell wall formation starts from the base and produce upward such that the cytoplasm divides into many compartments containing many nuclei. Okay. So the here the upper, you can say here the triple fission found in as in angiosperm is absent. Okay. So here embryo, the Gnetum species differentiates to show the embryonic development. Okay. So germination of the seed in Gnetum is by ovule shaped or green in red in color or surrounded by 3 layers of envelope, the embryo and endosperm. Inner envelope is the parenchymatous cells, middle is the hard protective, and in outer envelope is the fleshy one. Okay. Seed germination takes place by epigeal type or hypocotyle elongates, brings the cotyledons out of the soil, and then the first pair of foliage leaves producing the developed plumule. Okay. So when we are talking about the resemblance of the Gnetum and angiosperm, they are following the features we can see here: the reticulate venations in leaves and the presence of xylem vessels, and tetraporic development in the female gametophyte, absence of archegonia or diploid nature of the embryo. Okay. And when we are talking about the resemblance of Gnetum with that of the Gymnosperm, the presence of wood with trachea having both fates and presence of anemophilic mode of pollination, presence of ovule, naked ovules, presence of ovary, thus the fruit absence, or the development of the polythial cells. Okay, presence of cleavage and polyembryo. Thank you. This session is powered by 2.0 Jyoti Vidyapeeth Women's University, Jaipur. If you have any queries, we'll discuss in the problem solving session. Thank you.